Welcome to Seggs Talk Radio, a podcast that explores kink and sex through candid and curious conversations. Join me and expert guests in exploring taboos and unpacking what it means to be sex and kink positive. Go check out our new website, sextalkradio.com. That is SEGGS talkradio.com. And I hope you enjoy the episode.
Sex is an area of rampant insecurity for every single one of us. No exceptions.
All genders. Yes.
All genders.
1000%.
We all get vulnerable when we get naked.
Yeah.
Sexual egos are very fragile.
Yes.
And as a result, people find it bizarrely difficult to talk about sex to the people they're actually having it with while they're actually having it. Because in that situation,
so vulnerable.
You are terrified that if you say anything at all about what is going on, if you comment on the action any way at all, you will potentially hurt the other person's feelings. You'll put them off you. You will derail the encounter. You'll potentially derail the entire relationship. But at the same time, you want to please your partner. Right. You want to make them happy. Everybody wants to be good in bed. Nobody knows exactly what that means.
I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Butter. Butter Wellness makes external prostate massagers for men. They're extremely high-powered, no insertion necessary, and they give really incredible prostate orgasms. You can get 20% off by going to butterwellness.com and use code SEGGS, SEGGS. Over 80% of women, including myself, cannot have orgasms from penetrative sex alone. That is why it is so important that we find sex toys that we love. Honey Playbox makes an incredibly wide variety of toys. They literally have it all. They have wands, they have clit suckers, they have thrusting toys. They have so many options. And what's really cool about Honey Playbox is they are very technology forward. Many of their toys can be app controlled in addition to the regular settings and buttons on the toy, which makes it really fun for you and your partner. Go to honeyplaybox.com and use code SEGGS, SEGGS, for 20% off of your entire order. This episode of Seggs Talk Radio is brought to you by the HUD app. The HUD app is changing the face of modern and casual dating by giving users a really fun and flirty interface, and also it has bedroom features where you can select all of the kinky and naughty things you're into and show those to potential future partners. I personally love using the HUD app, and I think it's a great system for finding kinky people near you. Go to hudapp.com/sextalk. That is hudapp.com/SEGGS talk, TALK, for more. One of the many things that I love about Mochi Melt is that it is an overall luxury experience using it. It tastes delicious and it looks gorgeous on the nightstand. If you want to try out Mochi Melt for yourself, go to mochimelt.com and use code Thea, THEA, for 15% off of your entire order. I recently squirted for the first time and it was a lot of liquid. That's why I'm so glad that I've since found Splash Blanket. They create incredible waterproof blankets for all types of fluids. They have them in a bunch of different sizes and textures, and they are truly incredible and very absorbent. Go to splashblanket.us and use code SEGGS for 15% off of your entire order. Okay, hi, welcome. Welcome to Seggs Talk Radio.
Delighted to be here.
I'm excited to introduce you guys to Cindy Gallop. And she is the founder and CEO of MakeLoveNotPorn.com. And I've been aware of your TED Talk for a while and then have been doing a deep dive kind of the last 24 hours and super excited to talk to you.
I'm thrilled.
Where do we start? So I would love to hear a bit about the TED Talk you mentioned on an episode this morning. It kind of went viral and brought a huge amount of traffic to the site, which launched with the TED Talk. So love to jump in.
Sure. So, I think it's important to emphasize that Make Love Not Porn is an accident. I didn't consciously, intentionally set out to build, what I now run. It came about originally because I date younger men. They tend to be in their 20s. And this is like 16, 17 years ago. I began realizing through dating younger men that I was encountering an issue that would never have crossed my mind if I had not encountered it very intimately and personally.
Sure.
I realized I was experiencing what happens when two things converge. And I stress the dual convergence because most people think it's only one thing.
Okay.
I realized I was personally experiencing what happens when today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex. When those two factors converge, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way.
Yes.
So I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes in bed. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought,
absolutely,
gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I didn't know that because 16 years ago, nobody was talking about this.
Yes.
Nobody was writing about it.
There wasn't sex Instagram, info sharing.
Not at all. And so this was me in complete isolation as a naturally action-oriented person going, I'm going to do something about this.
Love it.
So 15 years ago, purely as a little side venture, I put up on no money a tiny clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that in its original version was kind of a public service announcement. Porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world.
Yeah.
I launched it, as you mentioned, at TED in 2009. I became the only TED speaker to say the words, come on my face, on the TED stage 6 times in succession.
Somebody needed to say it.
Exactly. The talk went viral as a result.
Yeah.
And it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated.
Did it crash?
It did initially, actually. My tech guy got it back up.
Love it.
But thousands of people wrote to me from all around the world. Everybody, young and old, male and female, straight and queer, pouring their hearts out, telling me things about their sex lives and their porn watching habits they'd never told anyone before.
Yeah.
And that was when I realized, oh my God, I've uncovered a huge global social issue.
Yes.
And so I then felt I had a personal responsibility. I had to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective.
Yeah.
So I turned it into a business designed to do good and make money simultaneously, which is what I believe all business should be.
Yes.
And what I decided to do was, as I've been saying 15 years, the issue isn't porn. The issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world.
Right.
I wanted to make it easier to do that. So I decided very simply to take every dynamic in social media and apply them to this one area of universal human experience that no other social network platform allows.
Yeah.
And so I turned Make Love Not Porn into what it is today, which is the world's first and only user-generated, importantly, 100% human-curated social sex video sharing platform. So we're kind of what Facebook and Instagram would be if they allowed you to openly, healthily, sexually self-express, which, as we all know, they totally do not.
Yep.
The way to think about us is, if porn is the Hollywood blockbuster movie, Make Love Not Porn is the badly needed documentary.
Yes.
We are
Beautiful.
pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference.
Yeah.
We are a unique window onto the funny, messy, loving, wonderful sex we all have in the real world.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we are socializing, normalizing, and destigmatizing sex, bringing it out of the shadows into the sunlight to promote consent, communication, good sexual values and behavior. We are literally sex education through real-world demonstration.
That is epic. I got chills.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got chills, especially with the second part, because yes, we all know porn is usually a big production, but the second part of we're not fucking talking about it. So, men who are watching every porn scene end with a guy coming on someone's face, they might not be talking to their friends about it because that's not socially acceptable. And so there's no... my girlfriends and I talk a lot about it, but we're all in the sex space, so it's a little different. But and
actually, I'll tell you what is really interesting there. So I designed Make Love Not Porn to be fully diverse and inclusive, and we are. Our members, our Make Love Not Porn stars, are all ages from 18 to 80.
I love that.
All races, ethnicities. We're a global platform. Yeah. Male, female, trans, non-binary. Straight, LGBTQ, asexual, But what is really interesting is that in the 11 years we've operated as a business, we've discovered that Make Love Not Porn is especially a revelation to men.
Yeah.
More men send us grateful emails than anybody else because we are something utterly unique that men will find nowhere else on the internet, which is a safe space where men can be and watch other men being open, emotional, and vulnerable around sex.
Yes.
You would not believe the number of men who write to us regularly and say, I just watched my first video, Make Love Not Porn, and afterwards I cried.
Oh.
I've said for years, I wish society understood the opposite of what it thinks is true. Women enjoy sex just as much as men, and men are just as romantic as women. Yet neither gender is allowed to openly celebrate either fact, and we would all be so much better off if they were.
Wow. That's a beautiful point, the duality of that. In my personal life lately, I've been running up against a bit of the Madonna whore situation, going from being a CEO to a sex podcaster. And I've also seen, having taken a more dominant role in my bedroom life lately, seeing this vulnerable yet kind of secretive, submissive, and emotional and connected side of men.
Absolutely.
And so I've really seen both of these kind of play out, and just, that's really beautiful.
No, and you know, what's interesting too, and I'd love to hear your experience in this, is so, you know, basically, because we don't talk about sex, you know, openly, generally as a society.
Yeah.
Sex is an area of rampant insecurity for every single one of us. No exceptions.
All genders. Yes.
All genders.
1000%.
We all get vulnerable when we get naked.
Yeah.
Sexual egos are very fragile.
Yes.
And as a result, people find it bizarrely difficult to talk about sex to the people they're actually having it with while they're actually having it. Because in that situation,
so vulnerable.
You are terrified that if you say anything at all about what is going on, if you comment on the action any way at all, you will potentially hurt the other person's feelings, you'll put them off you, you will derail the encounter, you'll potentially derail the entire relationship, but at the same time, you want to please your partner. Right. You want to make them happy. Everybody wants to be good in bed. Nobody knows exactly what that means. And so you will seize your cues on how to do that from anywhere you can. And if the only cues you've ever seen are in porn, because your parents never taught you about sex, because your school never taught you, you know, because your friends aren't honest, you know, and inevitably, that is why you're going to default to porn moves in the bedroom. And I have to tell you, I mean, one of the younger men that I've dated, and this is some years ago, he was 20 at the time. And by the way, extremely attractive young gentleman who had had a lot of girlfriends, you know. And so we were in bed and I was instructing him, you know, and it became very clear that he had never, ever talked in bed.
Wow.
He'd never had any conversation around sex because I basically talked him through how to make me come while he was inside me. And I did. And he was obviously thrilled. And, you know, and afterwards he said to me, you know, thanks to you, I'm going to start communicating a lot more in bed.
Which sounds so simple, but
but straight, you know, and I've heard this from a lot of people. Does not happen.
Yeah. I'd like to pivot a little bit because I turned 30 and something switched for me, and I took this more like mommy dominant nurturing role and started sleeping with younger guys. And I mean, this is more of a personal question, but like, there's some shame sometimes that comes up about worrying about a certain age where 18 is a legal age to consent, and yet I worry about brain development or their experience in bed. And so how should I navigate that? I mean, I use my intuition and their past sexual experience, but I've had great experiences with men in their young 20s. But there's something where I feel like if the genders were reversed, it would seem almost predatory. And so then I worry that maybe I'm that.
So let me reassure you, absolutely not. So first of all, like I said earlier, Make Love Porn was an accident. Everything in my life and career has happened by accident. Okay, I've never planned anything consciously.
That's how the best idea.
My ex-boss in the advertising world, Sir John Hegarty at BBH, has this great mantra: do interesting things, and interesting things will happen to you.
Absolutely.
I'm a great believer in living one's life that way.
Yeah.
So I started dating younger men by accident.
Okay.
By which I mean, you know, many years ago, I was running an ad agency here in New York. And this is something like, gosh, this would be 22 years ago now. And we were asked to pitch for an online dating brand. And in the advertising industry, when you pitch for a client's account, you have to experience the client's product and the entire competitive landscape. So we all had to online date.
Yeah.
And none of us on the agency pitch team ever had, because 22 years ago, it wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
So everyone else on my team was married, living with, dating. They all went online as fake personas, created profiles. I was single. I thought, okay, I have to do this for business reasons. Why not do it for real?
Yeah.
So I posted my profile on our client's site across a bunch of sites, honest about everything, including my age. At the time I was 42. And first of all, I got an avalanche of responses, which was very good for the ego. But much to my surprise, because I had not considered this dating strategy, the vast majority of those responses were from younger men. And many of them from much younger men. And, I went, okay, I had not thought about doing this, but as somebody who's never wanted to be married, never wanted children, didn't even want to have a relationship particularly. At the time, I just started up an ad agency in the world's toughest advertising marketplace. I was working 24/7. I just wanted to have some fun, which was missing, from my life. So I went, wow, hadn't thought about doing this, works for me. And I've been dating younger men very happily ever since.
Wow.
But I make the point there because... I meet the younger men I date on cougar dating sites.
Okay.
I applaud the rise of the niche dating site where everyone knows why they're there.
Yep.
And even I, who publicly champion this relationship model, am gobsmacked by how many younger men want to date older women.
Yes.
When I say date, I mean date.
Yeah.
I don't mean just have sex with. I mean actually have a relationship with. And I think that's because, to your point... actually, in our society, older man, younger woman, no one bats an eyelid. Totally acceptable.
Correct.
Older woman, younger man, still somehow deemed less socially acceptable. And so there are a ton of younger men out there who are not public about the fact they're attracted to older women, despite the explosion of MILF porn.
Yes.
And so the world does not realize how much of a dynamic this is in exactly the same way that lots of older men want to date young women and vice versa. So first of all, this is a perfectly natural dynamic, and by the way, I have girlfriends who married much younger men and have been happily married for
I've always
15,
imagined
20
that happening
years.
In my future.
It absolutely
like
does.
your photo shoot that you recently did on the balcony with younger guy. I'm like, this feels like my future.
But what I encourage everyone who is dating younger men or younger men dating older women to do is be public about it. Absolutely go loud and proud, because you'll make a lot of younger men feel a lot more emboldened about being open about that.
Right.
And you'll make a lot of older women realize they can. For example, years ago in London, because I travel to London a lot, so I like to have a young man in every port.
Love it.
And so I was dating this lovely younger man who was half Romanian, half Croatian, working in London. He was 6'3". He was model gorgeous. He in his younger years, he was like, in his early 20s when I met him, but he had been on the Romanian national swimming team, so body like a swim, you can imagine. So
get on these websites.
he genuinely loved and appreciated older women. And he told me that, in London, he would be in a bar or a restaurant and he would see an attractive older woman. And so he would go over, very politely approach her, and he would always get rebuffed. And I said to him, darling, I hate to tell you this, but that is because they think you're toying with them.
Oh,
they don't believe someone is
like doing
gorgeous.
it as a joke
because this guy was drop dead Calvin Klein model gorgeous.
Sure, anyone would want.
And those women could not believe that someone like that would really be interested in an older woman. And that is such a shame. And so again, the more public we are about all of this, the more everybody realizes that this is entirely natural, again, in the same way that, older man, younger woman is considered entirely natural. Yes. We need to equalize all of this, and then actually we'll have a lot of much happier people all around.
Yeah. I love that. And I kind of noticed that double-edged sword situation with, like when I first learned about kind of the daddy dom, which is a more soft, kind of nurturing, dominant male. And then I found my own role as more of a mommy dom. And I started making some like kind of subtle but very sexy social media content around it. And it hit like parent TikTok and they were like, you're a pervert. And it's like,
for crying out loud.
Because daddy is very okay socially.
Yep.
Oh, even my boyfriend,
Yep.
daddy, you know, sugar dating, daddy, like all these things. And I was just like, whoa.
Yep.
That is that speaks to.
That is the patriarchal double standard.
Yes.
And that is women who've internalized misogyny, basically.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks for the reassurance. I will keep dating younger.
Excellent.
One of the things that I've found about dating younger is the worship. We represent this powerful maternal figure, and there is worship and kindness and respect that I don't experience when I date men in their 40s. And also, because I think that this is really important, I have never been told I'm beautiful as much as since I began dating younger men. And again, this is something I want to reassure older women about. Okay. Yes.
It doesn't matter what you think you and your body looks like. They think we're fucking gorgeous. Okay?
Love it.
Literally. And there are a couple of interesting things about that. I mean, first of all, I'm always very interested. I ask the younger men I date, why were you on that cougar dating site? Why do you like older women?
Yes.
And what I hear most often, and honestly, this does not surprise me because I remember myself in my 20s. What they say to me is, women my own age are so insecure. I love the confidence of older women. And I absolutely, in my teens and 20s, was insecure. But because when we're women, from the moment we're born, everything around us conspires to make us feel insecure. Absolutely everything to do with ourselves.
And to buy stuff, capitalism. Buy stuff to not feel this
exactly.
way.
And the trouble is that when you are insecure, you make everything all about you without realizing it. So first of all, I mean, they are drawn to the confidence of older women because, I mean, I happen at this age to think I look bloody fantastic naked. I don't give a shit how much overweight I am or, whatever. And boy, oh boy, have I ever had that reinforced by, younger men. But here's the second thing about that, which is I make a point, because I'm not focused on myself, I'm not worried about myself. I make a point of telling them how beautiful they are. And I use that word specifically because we don't tell men they're beautiful often enough.
Yeah.
I will tell men how beautiful they are. And also, very importantly, I will tell them how beautiful every other part of their body as well as their dick is. Okay? Because again, porn convinces men that sex is entirely dick-centric.
Totally.
It's all about how
big dick-centric.
How big it is, how hard it is,
how long.
And so I will appreciate every other part of their bodies. Because, for example, I am a complete sucker for a forearm. Okay.
I would. A forearm.
A forearm. A gently muscled, slightly furred male.
Some veins.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm for this.
Yep. And so I will tell them how beautiful their forearms are. And I always remember, again, this is years ago, I was dating I think he was 21. He was on the wrestling team at his university, so body like a Greek god. Okay, very good looking.
I need to go to Europe with you.
And no. This is okay, America. I'm transatlantic equal opportunity dating.
I need to travel with you.
And I remember him sitting on the side of the bed the morning after, saying shyly, "You make me feel so sexy," and it was clear that girls his own age were not as appreciative of him. And I'm sure that's because in bed they were going, oh my God, how's my body delivering? And so on. So the wonderful thing about dating younger men is that, they just think we're fucking amazing and our bodies are hot as hell.
Love that. As you guys know, I've been very curious about anal play with my male partners, and I'm really excited to share Butter with you guys. Butter Wellness makes men's sexual health and wellness products, including this perineum massager. This applied on the perineum, which is between the ass and the penis of a man, can create prostate orgasms, which are very, very intense orgasms. In addition to that, this tool can also create extra blood flow that goes to the pelvic region. So if anybody has any issues with ED, this can also support with that. This is not to be inserted. This is for external use only. And you can get 20% off by going to butterwellness.com and use code SEGGS, SEGGS. My favorite Honey Playbox sex toy has to be the Joy Thrust. What is so cool about this toy is that this part vibrates and thrusts, which stimulates the G-spot, and this end stimulates the clitoris. Their products cover a massive, wide variety of experiences and desires, and the majority of them are app-enabled. So in addition to the buttons on the toys, you can adjust the intensity of the toy on an app on your phone, which makes for really fun, spicy playtime. If you're curious about trying out app-enabled sex toys, go to honeyplaybox.com and use code SEGGS, S-E-G-G-S, for 20% off of your entire order. If you are watching or listening to this, you're probably interested in sex and or kink and are curious about finding new partners to explore things with. However, it can be difficult to find those people. The thing I love about the HUD app is that it's more than just an app. They have a community, a podcast, and a ton of education. And inside of their app is a bedroom feature, so you can select all of the things you're interested in, all of the things you want to try, all the things you don't want to try, and that can be shown to potential future partners. So to learn more, go to hudapp.com/sextalk. That is hudapp.com/sextalk, SEGGSTALK. Yeah, I've done a lot of work on confidence in the last year. And as that confidence has grown, that switch has happened in general to dating younger. So that's an interesting correlation. I also kind of like the teaching factor of it, teaching/corrupting, I guess. But, you know, when an end of a relationship has happened with somebody younger, I feel like I've left them more educated and better in bed. And here's the clitoris.
No, absolutely. And by the way,
send you on your way.
Yep. And that's also very important for everybody, because going back to my point about how people don't talk in bed, I am my own research lab for Make Love Not Porn. Okay?
Love that. Yeah.
As I said, I date younger men. I date them casually, recreationally. I date a lot of them. I see for myself exactly how what Make Love Not Porn is tackling plays out in the real world. Right. And so there is that moment in bed where I'll go, okay, I'm now going to have a conversation about this. Mm-hmm. And I know the moment I do, the atmosphere in bed will change. But I say to myself, I have to do this for every other woman he's ever going to sleep with. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I can tell you, actually, to your point, those conversations are very welcomed. Yeah. I remember again another young man that this was a 19-year-old. I've dated a number of 19-year-olds. I'm very selective. They have to be a very special 19-year-old. Sure. But I've met very mature 19-year-olds, just as I've met very immature 49-year-olds. So,
amen.
But I remember him saying to me after about oh, it's all about communication.
So in your TED Talk, you mentioned the coming on the face as one of those porn things. What would be some other main things that you try to combat with?
Sure.
So not porn.
And the really important thing about this, Thea, is so what we are combating is not what people actually do. Okay. I always say, everything you see in porn, somebody somewhere loves doing. In fact, millions of somebodies. Right. The key thing is consent, okay? And actually, we have on the homepage of MakeLoveNotPorn.com, we have my original set of slides from that very first website.
Yeah, I saw those. They're cute.
Yep. And so you will have seen that, that particular slide says, Porn World, all men love coming on faces, and all women love having their faces come on. Real world, some people like this, some don't. It's always a good idea to find out. So always check and ask before you do it. Because, over the years, people have said to me, because of my TED Talk, so Cindy, you don't like having your face come on. And my response is, it all depends. That's not
what I said.
My response is, it all depends who's doing the coming.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point.
Okay.
And actually, all of those slides from the original Make Love Not Porn, and so there is, for example, Porn World, women have no hair down there. Real world, again, some women like shaving their pussies, others don't. Mm-hmm. Some men like that. Other men love au naturel. Yeah. Again, it's about what somebody wants and what somebody feels happy doing. Okay. The same thing goes through. I mean, these days, 15 years later, the good thing is that this is being talked about much more openly. But I have absolutely been choked without my consent, which was a very unnerving, very unnerving. Yes. When your airway is cut off, okay, and that is actively dangerous.
Yes.
I've absolutely, had the, I'm going to shove my cock down your throat and personally, I'm not into gagging. Okay. And again, all power to those who are.
Some are, some aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so again, it's about basically finding out what somebody does like and doesn't like. And every single video on Make Love Not Porn is that in operation. And that's why we are such revelation to everybody. Truly. I mean, for example, one woman left a comment on one of our videos saying, after I watched this video, I felt more empowered in my own sexual agency. Thank you for this gift.
Watching a woman advocate or communicate.
But exactly. And by the way, this is the amazing thing about Make Love Not Porn. As a unique business, we have a unique capability. We have the power to change people's sexual attitudes and behavior for the better in a way that nothing else can. And so in the 11 years we've operated, we've taught countless young people that porn is not sex in the real world. Gen Z loves us.
Good. They're great.
We have saved numerous marriages and relationships. People literally write to us and say, you saved my marriage. We've inspired communications breakthroughs between couples. Parents are buying their teenage and 20-something children's subscriptions to Make Love Not Porn. They tell us, I want my kids to see what happy, healthy, loving sexual relationships actually look like.
I would want my kids to go there versus Pornhub.com.
Exactly.
For their sex ed.
And what is interesting is, as with any disruptive technology, use cases emerge the founder never dreamt of. So I was amazed when we first began hearing, as we do regularly, from survivors of rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And we hear, by the way, from female survivors, male survivors, trans, non-binary survivors.
Yes.
They tell us that Make Love Not Porn help them reclaim their bodies. We help them feel able to be sexual again in a situation where porn is too triggering. And it's not just the people who watch our videos. We have a number of contributors we call out Make Love Not Porn stars. They tell us that being able to share themselves sexually in a completely safe and trustworthy space has helped them process and heal from sexual trauma. That's not a use case I ever thought of when I concepted this. I'm so happy that it is. And by the way, very importantly, our mission at Make Love Not Porn ultimately is to help end rape culture globally. Now, that sounds like a very big mission, but we have 11 years of proof of concept at a micro level.
Yes.
When we can get the funding we need to scale, we can do this.
Yes.
We help end rape culture by doing something very simple that nevertheless nobody else anywhere is doing. We end rape culture by showing you how wonderful great consensual communicative sex is in the real world.
Yeah.
Our social sex videos role model good sexual values and good sexual behavior. And here's the important part. We make all of that aspirational versus what you see in porn and popular culture. One man left a comment saying, this video makes me want to be a better man in the bedroom and in life. We can do that.
Wow. I was talking to a friend about that yesterday. Most women I know have had a negative sexual experience somewhere on the spectrum of sexual assault, meaning a lot of men have inflicted that. And it's my belief, maybe controversial, that some of them aren't even aware that they've done that. And so much of consent is ongoing throughout a sexual experience. And I think that's something that's massively missing from mainstream hardcore porn is the check-ins. How does this still feel? Does this feel good? And I learned a lot about that as I started doming in the bedroom because I was so careful and wanting my sub to have a good experience and consistently needing to check in if it was their first time being submissive.
But actually, they're also on that. And it's very important, I think, for people to understand this too. So at Make Love Not Porn, consent starts far further back than in the bedroom. And I say that because people make the mistake of thinking that when we talk about consent, what it means is every few seconds going, is it all right if I do that? Is it okay if I do this? And by the way, in a BDSM scenario, it's different, okay?
Sure.
But if you're just having sex, straight sex, they think, oh, but that'll kill the vibe. That's right, especially men.
Everyone always says that.
And what we show you at Make Love Not Porn is, first of all, that when you have good sexual values, when you get in the bedroom, that makes for a fantastic consensual experience because you are approaching it already in a particular frame of mind, and one that we help inculcate. And this is so crucial because right now, everybody quite rightly is writing about consent. Everyone's talking about consent. Lots of thoughtful, nuanced, insightful think pieces out there about consent. But the problem is nobody knows what consent actually looks like in bed.
No.
And the only way you educate as to what is great consensual sex, good sexual values and behavior, is by watching people actually having that kind of sex.
And actually seeing the arousal combined with that rather than an article.
And honestly, Make Love Not Porn is the only place on the internet where you can actually see that happen in the real world. And that's so important because no, it's not. It's not about, oh my God, I'm going to have to get them to sign a release at the state. I mean, all that ridiculousness. When you learn good sexual values, then you automatically operate them. And I want to explain also what I mean by that, because I designed Make Love Not Porn around my own beliefs and philosophies. One of which is that everything in life starts with you and your values. So I regularly ask people this question. So what are your sexual values? And nobody can ever answer me because we're not taught to think like that. Our parents bring us up to have good manners, a work ethic, sense of responsibility, accountability. Nobody ever brings us up to behave well in bed. But they should.
Because it's taboo and
because
secretive.
In bed, values like empathy, sensitivity, generosity, kindness, honesty, trust, respect. Those values are as important in the bedroom as they are in every other area of life where we're actively taught to exercise them. And so at Make Love Not Porn, we are building a community around good sexual values and good sexual behavior. And even I, who came up with this concept, am blown away by how strong that community is.
Wow. Sexual values. Okay, going to do some journaling on that.
Please do.
I think that with mainstream porn, you hear, or maybe just I hear because I love nerding out about this stuff, but I hear about how much work goes in behind the scenes, the paperwork, the actors talk to each other about their yeses and their no lists, but like that is missing. We don't get to see that part on Pornhub.com.
Yep. And I will just say a couple of things about that, because in the 15 years that I've worked on Make Love Not Porn, I've inadvertently become something of an advocate and a champion for the porn industry.
Yes.
And I want to just make our listeners aware of a couple of things. I mean, first of all, I encourage people not to use the word porn like it's all one big homogenous mass.
Okay.
That's like using the word literature to say it's all the same thing.
Sure.
The landscape of porn is as rich and infinitely varied as the landscape of literature, just as many genres, subgenres. What people don't realize is that the porn industry is dominated by one massive monopoly, which would not be allowed to exist in any other industry, but nobody wants to bring the antitrust legislation lens to adult. So a company that used to be called MindGeek is now called ALO, owns everything. They own Pornhub, YouPorn, RebTube, Sex.com, Brazzers, etc., etc.
Based in Canada, right?
They're based in Canada, in Montreal, and also in Luxembourg.
Okay.
And the problem is the same as with any other industry dominated by a monopoly. I have many brilliant friends who are indie pornographers, female queer pornographers, making very different, innovative, creative, disruptive, consensual, wonderful porn. They don't get the traffic, the numbers, and the revenue they deserve because nobody can find them. ALO has a stranglehold on the industry. So it's just important for people to realize that porn doesn't, just that term doesn't embrace everything out there. And also, what I've been advocating for 15 years is that the answer to everything that worries people about porn and about sex is not, as is currently happening, is not to shut down, censor, clamp down, block, repress. It is instead to open up. Open up the dialogue around all of this. Open up to welcoming, supporting, and funding entrepreneurs like me who want to disrupt all this for the better.
Yeah.
But very importantly, open up to allowing us to do business the same way everybody else does.
Advertise.
Because I did not realize when I embarked on building Make Love Not Porn that I and my tiny team would fight an enormous battle every single day not even to build and grow this business, just to keep it alive. And that's because every single piece of business infrastructure any other tech startup takes for granted, we can't. The small print always says no adult content. And it's all pervasive. I can't get funded. I couldn't get banked. It took me 4 years to find one bank that would allow me to open a business bank account for Make Love Not Porn. Try doing business for 4 years without a business bank account.
Right.
Can't tell you how I did it. Did in ways I shouldn't have. Makes life very difficult. As a video streaming platform, every single tech service we need to use, hosting, encoding, encrypting, the terms of service always say no adult content. In every single case, I have to go to the people at the top of the company, explain what I'm doing, beg to be allowed to use their service. Sometimes they let me, sometimes they don't. It's a very labor-intensive process.
Yes.
We never get to work with best in class of anybody. My two biggest business growth inhibitors are A, payments. So PayPal, Stripe, etc., will not work with adult. I have to work with the murky subculture of adult-friendly payment processors.
15%.
Who, because anybody adult has nowhere else to go, charge extortionate fees.
Yes.
I pay out 12% of my revenue every month in payment processing fees alone, mainstream rates of 3% or less.
Yep.
The other massive business growth inhibitor is that we're banned from advertising anywhere. We can't advertise on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Google, YouTube, Twitter. Can you believe it? Twitter bans Make Love Not Porn from advertising, despite all the porn you find on there. Reddit bans us from advertising on Reddit, despite all the porn you find on Reddit. Total hypocrisy.
Wow.
And I'm making this point in the context of the adult industry overall, because of all of this, you drive an entire industry into the shadows and underground. You make it a lot easier for bad things to happen, and you make it very difficult for good things to happen. I've said for years publicly that every bank that refuses to bank a legal adult business, every payment processor that will not work with a legal adult business, any business service that will not work with a legal adult business, they are all directly responsible for every bad thing that happens in the adult industry. And so I am campaigning to change all of this, but I'm also building solutions to my own problems. Because I'm a big believer that when you have a truly world-changing startup, you have to change the world to fit it, not the other way around.
Agreed.
And so, as you've just heard, when an entire ecosystem will not allow you to thrive and scale in the same way that every other tech startup, particularly white male founder ones, are allowed to thrive and scale.
Yes.
My view is build your own ecosystem. And so, despite the fact that my battle to find investors continues, I am working on building an entire ecosystem around Make Love Not Porn that everybody else can use as well. And there are four components to this. Make Love Not Porn at the heart is sex tech.
Yes.
And then around it, I want to build an edtech product, a fintech product, an adtech product, and an AI product. And so briefly, because I'd love to send our listeners to, I'll give you the URL for each of these so you can check out in more detail. But we are building right now, we plan to launch in a couple months' time, the edtech product, which parents and teachers have been asking me for since day one.
That was on my list to ask you about. Beautiful.
So this is MakeLoveNotPorn.Academy.
Okay.
And if you go to that URL, you'll see my vision laid out there. This is what I characterize as the Khan Academy of sex education.
The Khan?
The Khan Academy. KHAN. So Khan Academy is a global tutoring platform used by young people all around the world. But the point about that is Khan Academy tutors on every other topic under the sun except this one.
Of course.
EdTech as a category is exploding, not in this area. And I think you'll like this one. So the game plan is to build the Academy on the same principles as Make Love Not Porn. User-generated, crowdsourced, curated revenue share. Because I'm not about reinventing the wheel. This is an aggregation play. I want to build the go-to global hub for the best of the world's sex education content. And so the way it works is when we launch MakeLoveNotPorn.Academy in a couple months' time, we invite educators from all around the world to share with us their own content. Their own coursework materials, books, products, whatever it may be. And I use educator very broadly. Sexual health and wellness experts, therapists,
mostly video or not necessarily?
No, anything.
Okay.
Posting their websites, their downloadable ebooks, I mean, videos, absolutely, but whatever their products are. Okay. Now, we will curate, because at the heart of everything we do lies human curation. Human eyes will vet every single piece of content in a product just to make sure we endorse it, it's safe.
Yes.
We will then basically publish all of this segmented by age appropriateness. Mm-hmm. So if you're a parent freaking out going, oh my God, my 6-year-old just asked it, what do I say? You will be able to have that conversation with age-appropriate tools and content with a 6-year-old. If you're a teacher of the class of 14-year-olds, here are your age-appropriate teacher materials. If you're an adult, access all areas, because adults are desperate for all this information.
We need our own sex ed.
No, precisely. And the important thing about this is, you'll be able to purchase all of these products, subscribe, download, bulk buy if you're a school.
Yeah.
We'll take a 10% commission, but all of the income will go to the educators. And the reason that's important is because, and you will totally know this, Thea, right now, no one goes into sex education to make money. I have friends all around the world who are brilliant sex educators.
Yeah.
They face all the same problems we do at Make Love Not Porn. Their content gets blocked all the time on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yes.
Their accounts get suspended. They're banned from advertising. Mm-hmm. They can't even make a living doing this. No. They've had to take other jobs to survive.
Right.
I want to change that because this is enormously valuable work. But my game plan with this, Thea, is, what we're building at the Academy at scale becomes effectively the Google of sex education. At a time when search engines and platforms are censoring and deplatforming sex ed everywhere, we want to organize on the Academy the world's sex education information. Google's original claim was want to organize the world's information. They don't. Their algorithm decides precisely.
Yes.
And as we all know, that is actively hurting us. I mean, for example, Make Love Not Porn is banned from doing paid search ads on Google. But every day, all around the world, people search for us without knowing that we exist. And what I mean by that is the top organic search terms that send traffic to us are Make Love, Not Porn, Real Sex, Not Porn, Video Sexo Na Porno, Make Love Not Porn, where they don't know there's a company called that. Right. One young man told me he found us when he Googled porn that is not porn.
Oh,
he wanted something
trying.
different. No, I don't. Yes. No, they are. This is how much the world wants what we do.
Right.
Knows it needs us, but finds it really difficult to find us. And so the idea is that if we can scale the Academy to be effectively the sex education search engine the world needs, then we change that for all of us. That's the ultimate vision. And I want to tell you about this especially because so we are absolutely at the moment talking to our sex educator target audience as we design the Academy because we want to make it work for them. Yeah. So last week my team and I talked to a wonderful friend of mine, Justin Hancock. He's UK based. He has a brilliant website called Bish Sex Ed. He's been a sex educator for 20 years. His site is for anybody 14 and over. He produces a ton of content. And as you can imagine, he gets, suspended, post-blocked all the time on social media. And he said to us, he said, that's because I refuse to spell sex as sex. He said, I'm a 40-something-year-old man. I've been a professional sex educator for 20 years. I'm not bloody spelling sex S-E-G-G-S. It's ridiculous we have to. And so the aim with MakeLoveNotPorn.Academy is absolutely that we build a hub for all of us that demonstrates to the world how incredibly valuable all of this information is, that is our own sex education search engine that breaks down those barriers for all of us. Yeah. And by the way, one agenda with the Academy as well is people have said to me for years, Cindy, you should go into schools. Make Love Not Porn should be in the curriculum. And I've always said, no, I shouldn't, because anyone trying to bring sex ed into schools comes up against parent-teacher association, moral panic,
And depending on the school and the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The people keeping sex ed out of schools, they don't know what it'd be like if they allowed it in. They just know it'd be really bad. In their heads, they have this abstract Sodom and Gomorrah will ensue. When I can show you what what doesn't exist anywhere currently, with the Academy, the best of the world's sex education content all in one place. And you can see for yourself at a glance how brilliant, informative, educational, healthy, and non-threatening it is.
Right.
And you can search it by age appropriateness, by cultural sensibility, because we will have Christian sex ed, Jewish sex ed, Muslim sex ed. And when you can pick and choose according to your comfort level, because you can decide what you want for your kids, your school, your community, that is when I can get sex ed in schools.
Yes.
I'm building the Academy outside the system to be able to get education into the system.
I support that. That's a bigger fight, the school part. I was recently giving a blowjob to a partner, and one of the things that I love incorporating into all types of play is lube. But specifically with blowjobs, I love being able to use this honeydew flavor of mochi melt because it makes it so much more fun and delicious for both parties. I also enjoy using it for penetrative sex, and in the past, I found that I can't really use flavored lube down there because it could upset my pH. However, mochi melt is pH balanced, it is food grade, and it is FDA approved, which makes it completely safe for use down there for the ladies and the fellas. If you want to try out Mochi Melt, go to mochimelt.com and use code Thea, THEA, for 15% off of your entire order. I recently squirted for the first time, and it was a lot of fluid. I was surprised. I squirted like 5 times in a row the first time I did it, and everything was drenched. I spent the entire next day doing multiple loads of laundry, and as excited as I was to have squirted for the first time, I also realized that I needed a solution for the problem at hand. So I am so excited to be working with Splash Blanket. They create incredible waterproof blankets. They can be used for squirting, for sex in general. They absorb up to 1 liter of liquid. I mean, I just use mine as a cozy blanket. They are extremely diverse, and I absolutely love them. So go to splashblanket.us and use code SEGGS, SEGGS, for 15% off of your entire order. And I think that what's so amazing about the Academy as well is a lot of sex educators are exhausted by the social media censorship. They want to educate, they want to share, but they don't want to deal with the back and forth. I mean, I was deleted at 70,000 followers and 30,000 followers, and that was on TikTok. And so, you know, I'm a very, perseverance is my middle name, so I just kept going. But for a lot of people, they just want to do the teaching. And so having a place they can go where they can do what they love.
Absolutely.
Without trying to create an audience.
Yep. And also, I want to make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money doing that.
Great.
Because this is enormous.
They're not making
work.
any.
You know, I mean, I foresaw the creator economy 15 years ago when I concepted Make Love Not Porn's revenue share model to democratize access to income.
It's very ahead of the game.
It really was. And for the benefit of our listeners, our members pay to subscribe, rent, and stream social sex videos. Half the income goes to our Make Love Not Porn stars. And, you know, when we launched, I wrote a blog post about our business model, and it was titled, How Make Love Not Porn Can Help the Global Economy. And I said, I began this blog post by saying, you know all those little scam ads that pop up on the internet all the time going, make $2,000 a week working from home? Well, now you can.
Yeah.
And
this is pre-OnlyFans, you guys.
But this is pre-OnlyFans.
Way pre-OnlyFans.
Yep. And I said in this post, you know, my aim with Make Love Not Porn is to one day hit the kind of critical mass where your Make Love Not Porn video gets 1 million rentals at $5 a rental, and we give you half that income. Okay.
Beautiful.
Now, we're a very long way away from that. And by the way, what infuriates me is that OnlyFans was founded by a bunch of white guys who had no problem raising funding for a platform that they absolutely intended to be powered by adult, which they positioned as a general fan platform.
Right.
You know, sports, music.
No, they know where it was going.
No, they absolutely do. But that's why, for example, Stripe works with OnlyFans.
Yes, because they do $1 billion a year.
Yep. And so
they have a private agreement.
And so Stripe are fine going, yeah, because they're a general fan platform versus refusing to work.
Fuck off.
With Make Love Not Porn. No, exactly. Yeah. So actually, that's why my second ecosystem product. So I've said for years publicly that I want to build the Stripe of sex tech.
Please fucking do.
Because the first payment processor...
That'll get you real rich.
Yep. No, exactly. The first payment processor welcomes legal, ethical, transparent sex tech adult measures, cleans up.
Yeah.
Now, the challenge with building Stripe of sex tech is not the technology. That's the relatively easy part. It's finding a bank willing to underwrite and partner with you. if you told me 15 years ago I'd spend this much of my life talking to banks and payment processors, I would not have believed you. But the good news is in 2024, I have finally found a bank, not coincidentally female-led, who gets the huge opportunity for the stripe of sex tech and wants to partner with me on it. So we are currently working on block free. And if you go to block free,
that's the name.
That's the name. Yeah. The URL is blockfree.us. Okay. And this is basically using the blockchain to unblock, which is why it's called block free, because this is on-chain payments in, payments out for everybody unjustly blocked by fintech injustice. And so what we're doing at the moment is we are building a payments payouts solution. We're talking to a number of partners about this, whose APIs we'll build this with. We're going to proof test it on Make Love Not Porn first. We're building it for ourselves because we need this as badly as everybody else.
That's how great products are invented.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to pilot it, make sure it works brilliantly for us. We're then going to turn it into a standalone product, which we can then make available to everybody else. And you're right. That is going to prove how much bloody revenue you can generate. And honestly, there's a very clear exit strategy there, which is when I can prove that you can absolutely process payments and payouts for legal adult ventures, safely and securely make a shit ton of money, then giant fintech company will absolutely acquire that for a shit ton of money. That's a game plan with that.
Will people buying and cashing out on there need crypto wallets?
The plan is to build it on the blockchain.
Okay.
So it's effectively using a stable coin, which is crypto pegged to the US dollar. But we want to build what doesn't exist currently. And this is what I've said to my partners. The whole point about this is that our members should be able to pay cash in. Our Make Love Not Porn stars should get cash out without the word crypto crossing anybody's radar at any point in the process.
Perfect.
That's the plan.
Great. Okay, great.
No, because the crypto community has not told their story well enough to the mainstream.
Right.
People like Sam Bankman-Fried have not helped matters at all, and so
can actually be used as a middleman.
That way. And we're looking to do this in a way that nobody else has yet, which literally is making sure that. As far as the people paying and the people receiving payment are concerned, there is nothing about the experience that has anything to do with crypto perceptually. Okay? Right. And when we can build this and make it work, this is the mainstream, everyday use case the crypto community is desperate for.
Wow. I was buying some kinky art on Etsy recently, and I went to the creator's website, and it was like some weird, bizarre, I had to go get Ethereum. It was this whole thing. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't know how. But the kinkiest, most creative stuff is pushed to these weird solutions.
No. And by the way, the solution potentially is very effective, but not in the way it works currently.
Right.
And that is why, and we are looking to build something that does not exist yet, which is where you never need to encounter the word crypto and deal with any of that at any part of the process.
That's amazing. My first company was a cannabis company. And so I was like 25 and I was on the phone with fucking banks and high-risk payment processors. And I was like, how is this my life? No, I just want to sell some lotion, some weed lotion.
That has been my life for 15 years.
I can imagine.
And that's a great point, Thea, because, block free will work for every restricted business. So this will work for cannabis.
Beautiful.
And a ton of other businesses, including, all legal, by the way. But honestly, the TOS of all of the fintech companies block a really amazing range of businesses. And I want to take that money and clean up on it.
And truly the most lucrative.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. This has been so insightful. I feel very inspired sex tech wise.
Actually, can I share one final
Of
product?
course.
I have an ad tech product as well. You can find it at herefortheads.com, which will enable all of us to advertise. But I do just want to talk to you about the buzzword of the moment, our AI product.
Okay.
Because
I'm interested in building something as well.
Because I have had an AI product in the pipeline for Make Love Not Porn for 5 years.
Whoa.
Okay?
Yeah, way ahead.
It was prompted by a conversation 5 years ago with a dear friend of mine whose background is AI and machine learning. And we haven't yet built it because we don't have investors. We need funding. But basically, as you heard me say earlier, Make Love Not Porn is 100% human curated. There's no self-publishing. Our curators watch every video from beginning to
every
end.
comment I heard.
We approve or reject
That's
comments,
incredible.
profile posts as well, and we publish. Now, as you will also know, OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc., are all built on LLMs, large language models. Okay. I have something very unique at Make Love Not Porn. I have an LVM. I have a large video model. I have the world's only pool of 100% human curated, fully consensual, real-world sex video content.
Ooh, okay, this is turning on my business brain.
And I want to use AI to build an algorithm for consent.
Oh.
With a ton of use cases, because what I'm talking about is actually an enterprise application of AI, Make Love Not Porn. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay. And I say that because all around us right now in popular culture are many sex scenes that purport to be consensual that are actually modeling non-consensual sexual behavior. Okay. Whether it be Game of Thrones, where the only way anyone ever has sex is rape, virtually, or rom-coms, where even within a love story, when you get to the sex scene, there is zero foreplay, instant penetration, instant simultaneous orgasm, no communication. Okay, yep. Imagine being able to run. Imagine being able to run your script or your film through an algorithm that will tell you whether what you are depicting is in fact consensual. Okay, so that's use case number one.
Okay,
for movies, videos, streaming, etc.
How would this visually show up for someone?
Well, basically, I need funding to be able to hire AI experts to be able to make this happen. My friend has assured me it's possible, but I can't tell you exactly.
I guess I mean more from the viewer perspective. Would it be like closed captions? Like this is non-consensual.
That's way too far down the line. Okay. I can't. The second use case is criminal court, because as we all know, something like 1% of all rapes ever find their way into the judicial system.
6% of women report.
0.00 ever result in convictions. Rape is the only crime where the onus is entirely on the victim to prove it happened. Imagine being able to bypass the he said, she said of the courtroom, the inherent bias in the mindsets of old white male judges, with an algorithm that will tell you the nuances of whether something was consensual or non-consensual.
Wow.
And I'm sharing that with you and our listeners because that is the female lens on AI that is not getting funded, while deep fake porn explodes all around us. And by the way, I will just say I'm using the term deep fake porn because our listeners will know what I'm talking to. But can I encourage everybody to do what there is a real movement to do, which is don't use that term.
Okay.
Because it does not make sufficiently clear the criminal nature of what is destroying women's and girls' lives all around the world right now. Use the term intimate image abuse or digital sexual forgeries, because that makes it clear how criminal what is happening that is not being stopped by the white bros that are getting all the fucking funding in AI. And, there are women like me who are building AI through the female lens that will stop that shit.
Yes.
And only 1.7% of all venture capital last year went to female founders. Even less goes to female AI founders. So, to change anything of what we don't want to see happening around us today, there's a very simple answer: fund female founders.
Wow. That is a great way to end this. There's no better way. Give us all money. Give Cindy money.
So please, actually, listeners, I would like you to do that. My one call to action, if you appreciate what we talked about today, is we launched earlier this year our first ever equity crowdfunding campaign. It's our first ever because historically no crowdfunding platform would allow us. Right. And the only reason we have a campaign is because the wonderful actress Jamila Jamil, who's a big fan, she proposed this to us. She led it as our lead investor, brought us to WeFunder. So please go to wefunder.com/MakeLoveNotPorn and invest in us. The minimum investment is $100. $200. So it's eminently affordable to own a teensy-weensy piece of Make Love Not Porn.
Beautiful.
Obviously, the more you can invest, the more we'd love it.
Yeah.
But we're targeting $1 million.
Okay.
We are a third of the way there.
Wow.
We've raised, I think it's 360,000 to date. That's enabled us to start building the academy.
Yeah.
So please spread the word, invest what you can to help us bring everything we've talked about today to life.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Cindy. This has been amazing.
It's been a total
I
pleasure.
want to talk to you for many more hours. We'll make that happen. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode today. Be sure to stay in touch with us on socials at Seggs Talk Radio Podcast. That is SEGGS Talk Radio Podcast.